All right, we're back for review.
Jeb's on a streak. We don't like when Jeb's on a streak.
Yeah. Jeb's
No,
winning lots of games.
We don't like it at all.
That means I'm going to fall really hard in something I like.
I don't know. Oh, whatever. All right, so hopefully you just watched Heldentaufe. You watched Jeb run away with the game. Wasn't even, well, I mean, Haley actually ended up, she was right in the running, but yeah. I mean, if you, positioning wise, it really wasn't a game.
Right.
There wasn't anything, anybody, I mean, I think we could have delayed a turn if Haley would have moved in a different spot. But for the most part, Jeb just cleaned up. All right, so what do you think?
I really enjoy it. When you had talked about it, I didn't even know what I was getting into, and then the first time we played it, I thought it was really cool how you kind of build the upper world, try to get yourself built up and things, and then you make your way down to the nether world, and then that's where you do all the fighting of the monsters and stuff, and it brings that element of timing in as well. It's like, when is the best time to go down there? I mean, some people want to go straight to the netherworld before everybody else is ready, but then once somebody goes in there, then other people are going to try to come down and maybe steal kills and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So.
And on top of that, that if you want to bolt down there, that somebody else is going to be controlling the monster.
Yeah.
So are you willing to take a chance of dying and losing everything you have?
That is a huge loss if you die.
I mean, especially if you were totally equipped and went down there and lost everything, that would be really pretty rough. So it does make you think about when plus you're at the mercy of the portals too.
Yeah.
When they're revealed and where you can go. I also like the game. This is one of my the bad things about me in gaming is because I see something pretty and I buy it. So this was a Kickstarter, and I fell in love with the art, as I do a lot of times in Kickstarters. Not that I just always don't even look at the gameplay, but the gameplay sounded interesting enough that I said that I was going to do it. And if I remember correctly, I actually forgot at the very last second, and I had to email them, and they let me in on the Kickstarter. So that was very cool too. It wasn't one of those things that they were like, "Oh, we're only going to sell you the." I don't even know if there was any stretch goals. Point is, I got it at the same time as the Kickstarting stuff went out, and the artwork and the quality of the game didn't let me down at all. I think Jeb would agree that all the components are really solid in the game.
I like the organizational insert for it, because even in the rule book it tells you where to put everything, and it all fits perfectly.
And it all fits perfect, and everything is real high quality. The cards are high quality. The cardboard's thick. The dice are nice. There's nothing bad to say about that. And again, the artwork, if you like, it's a whimsical artwork. So if you like that type of thing, that's really good too. In terms of gameplay, from my perspective, we've only played it a couple times now. I thought our first game, Jeb won that too. I thought we had to work a little bit harder at it, and it wasn't it might have been a blowout at the end, but to get there,
no,
it wasn't as.
I remember
ridiculous.
I got to 12 points really quick, but then you got your stuff built up and you started catching up, and I was like, oh boy.
And before we started this review, we were actually just having a little discussion trying to figure out, is it luck, or is there something that you should be going for first? And I think at the end of the day, we think it's a little bit of everything. So. Not enough to tell you if it's unbalanced or not. I haven't gone through and looked at a whole bunch of comments on Board Game Geek or anything like that. I have glanced, and people have asked. I saw something that says, "Oh, do you really not have to spend an action in a resource place?" And in the rule book, that's true. So, and I didn't see anything about errata. If you watch this play the game, it actually makes sense on why they did that. This game, it would take forever if they hadn't have made the mechanics like they did. And Jeb and I both thought it was a really cool way to do it because it keeps everything really simple. Everything else, you're just doing stuff in your turn. Like, oh, like I'm wandering through the path. I see some mushrooms. I pick them in my bag. Why would that stop and be an action? It makes sense. So your action points are just going from space to space and or paying to get new mission cards and battling once you're ready to do so. So if you play it or if you watched it, even though those things don't make normal sense in your mind, it actually works really, really well in this game. And I think we both agreed with that. Like, once you have the ability to make potions, just make a potion. As long as you have the ingredients.
Especially if you get rid of the one that you have for a new one, it's like, why not just hold the red potion the whole time?
You're still, if you don't have those ingredients, you're still going to have to take an action to get there.
Right.
So, and if you notice, your sack that you carry stuff in has very little room. So that would be another reason that if they had done that a different way, it would be, in my mind, I would probably be irritated. Like, it would take so long to do stuff.
Yeah.
Like, if I had to take an action and put those things in and then get to another space and then make a potion for an action and then go back and do it all over again. I really think that even though it's counter to what you probably played in other games, it works, like, incredibly well in this. And all around, I think they did a really good job. The other thing that I'll say about it that I think is this is be a fantastic family game because it's pretty easy to teach, I think. I mean, and it's, there's no reading.
Right.
Once you've described to a
you know
younger player
what you know what they all
what it does. So there might be a little learning curve at the beginning. Hey, what does this card do?
Right.
But once you realize what the stuff means, it goes pretty quick too. Shouldn't be a lot of dead time. I wouldn't say that it's. That's another thing about the not having to use actions for stuff. I think that helps eliminate the dead thinking, overthinking stuff.
Oh yeah, because if I had to think, like, to spend an action to grab like 1, 2, or 3 mushrooms, I'd be sitting there all day, like, trying to get all the combinations and stuff. When I can just step on a mushroom patch and be like, I'll take 3 because why not?
Yeah.
And then hit the mushroom or the apples and be like, well, I don't need 2 of those mushrooms, so I'll just take 2 apples.
Especially if you do that first, and then you're like, hey, I want to swap mission cards. And then you end up getting a mission card that pays off for doing something different. And like Jeb said, you can just toss whatever you don't need. So obviously the other thing is that you're probably going to be able to get a lot of gameplay out of this because so much that, you can switch the levels of the monsters. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but you get to put the teeth wherever you want.
Yeah, because the setup for the teeth, the 3 tiers of the teeth, you can put them however you want. So that gives you some variety.
So you can change the monsters every game.
Yep.
The traps change constantly during the game. And since it's a hex placement thing that are random every single game, that is always going to be different. And if you're trying to, like, at the end, if you know somebody's ahead, like when Jeb got, you can at least start trying to build the stuff to make him run across the board.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of strategy in it too. I don't know. I kind of contemplated after this game is, should you be able to attack in the upper world? Because it does clearly say in the rules that you only attack in the lower world. Like, attack a player, obviously. I don't know if that would be good or bad. Maybe you could house rule it to see if it worked. Obviously, the designers figured that if you could get out of the underworld, then I guess you don't deserve to get hit. Because the consequences would be really high, too. Like, if Haley and I could have had a shot at hitting Jeb in the upper world once he had all his teeth. Remember, if I have lower teeth, I get to take all and trade.
That would have been nasty.
And then you're already in the upper world, so if I like
you just ran.
Yeah, and then say Jeb only has 1 hit point, and I'm not too far away. I run over. For some reason, I'm able to hit him for 1 because he also loses his Berserker bonus when he comes back up.
Yep.
Take all the teeth, and then I had to do no work for him. That might be a little unbalanced. Maybe you could house rule something that if you hit somebody on the upper, you get X amount of teeth.
You add them, split it in half, something like that.
Something like that. You could do. I don't know. It was just a thought. I feel like I'd like to get a few more plays in to see if I if any of the things work out better. I actually was able to get better equipment, but Jeb just got his equipment that much faster. And
I had some really lucky mission combination stuff because I went from like 0 ring to 3 ring in like 1 or 2 turns.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen often.
Yeah, and if you can get that Berserker going, that's when you want to, definitely go down into the dungeon. And if somebody else doesn't have that, I mean, they might still go down into the netherworld anyways to fight their own monsters, but you're pretty safe from getting hit from another player. I mean, I did have a +3. At one point
you did give me a challenge.
I could risk it, but it was still, you still had the advantage most of the time.
Yeah.
So, other than that, I mean, I think so far, I feel like it's pretty balanced. I feel like families would like this game. I like adventure type of games. It's a more simple one.
Definitely not a co-op thing.
Yeah,
so if you don't like competitive stuff.
Yeah, it is 100% competitive because you're racing to get the thing. I think it is simplistic, so if you wanted a more detailed game, you probably
it's not like
it.
You're leveling up all kinds of different equipment and stuff. There's only, you go up to level 3. Like, it's not going any further than that, so.
Who else wouldn't care for it?
I don't know. I think that covered it pretty well.
All around, I don't think there's. I mean,
I don't know if it's an intro game for people.
It'd be close.
It's close to an intro, but I don't know if this would be like the first.
It's not a
kind of movement.
It's probably not like a Ticket to Ride, but I do think that if you got somebody that was interested or, even have played some of the other basic games, you could probably take this one out pretty easily and say, okay, on your turn, you move around and here's what you can do.
Yeah, like for me, I know you haven't played it, but D&D Adventure System, I think, is like a really good intro one because it's pretty basic. I would say that I would use to teach someone like what the dungeon crawl is. Then I would go to Heldentaufe because that adds a little more complexity. But
I had no idea that those D&D games were that simple.
They were pretty easy.
Wow.
I mean, difficulty in like the actual game itself, because some of the stuff, like you're fighting difficult stuff, but learning
mechanic-wise,
it's
easy. Right.
So I'd go D&D Adventure System, Heldentaufe, and then something like Descent, because Descent is, I think Descent is higher than this.
A little bit.
So that's how I would put it in the order of what I would introduce someone into like dungeon crawl stuff.
Yeah. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. I actually haven't seen this in a store yet, so I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know what the deal is with how it was distributed.
Check out the Kickstarter and see if you can find the website.
Yeah, you can
I don't know if
get in contact with them or something if it looks like something you would like. I don't think you'd be sorry if you get a chance to play it.
Yeah, it's really fun.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun even if you lose.
One thing I was thinking of on mechanics, what if when you know how in the game you can just discard stuff when you get new stuff? Like if I had 3 mushrooms in my sack and I picked up 2 apples, like could I just instead of putting those back in the token pile, what if I dropped them on the tile I was on? So when somebody comes walking through that mushroom patch, they could pick up the apples or whatever,
So there could be
like stuff you drop from your sack, you're literally dropping on the board. And I don't know how well that would work out.
That could be interesting because that could end up putting stuff closer to a person that needs it rather than having to run across the board. That's actually a pretty neat idea.
But
now we're talking about stuff that you can just make up, though. It didn't really have anything with the game. We had, a lot of times we play these games, especially the Kickstarter ones, and Jeb and I wonder, Like, did the
what was the thought process?
what was the
behind
thought
stuff?
process,
Yeah.
or did they even think about this? Because you don't know how well they play tested it, and once you have something in your mind, you might, if you didn't bring in any outsiders, you might not have you thought about it. But
Yeah.
at the
I
end
think
of the
they did
day,
a really good job.
I
with
do
this,
too.
so.
I thought, like, the whole treasure system, the teeth system, the monster system, the random tiles, everything fell together pretty well in my opinion. I would definitely recommend the game.
Yep. So I think that's about it for it, right?
Yep.
So check out our other videos. Ask us any questions if you have them on the game. We'll try to answer everything we can. If we did something wrong, let us know that too, so we can clarify it for other people who watch. Other than that, I think that's it, right?
And hopefully Jeb cuts out my saltiness when I knew that he was going to lose, because I don't want him to keep that in there because he'll gloat. All right, guys. See you later.
Bye. Boards and booze, booze and boards, with Mickey and Jeb.